Hello. I'm just gonna wait and see if many more people join for this. So I did a Facebook Live this time last week on seaweed facts, and then this week it's going to be on eco living tips and ways that we can be more sustainable for the planet. So I will just wait till we get a few more people and then I'll get started. I could probably introduce myself going from last week. So for any of you that didn't watch the one last week, I'm Emily. I am Seaflora's social media manager, and I did my live video on Facebook last week on seaweed facts, and then this week it is on eco-friendly living tips. So I've been working with Seaflora since the end of December now, so learning new things about seaweed every day. I also studied marine biology for 4 years at University of Stirling in Scotland. So I have a background in that, so this job is perfect for me. And what else did I mention last week? That I have only been in Souk for 5 months now. I moved here 5 months ago from Scotland, so yeah, reintroduce myself and see if many more people will come on, and then I will get started talking about eco-friendly living tips. Okay, so trying to think back to last week, I did one on seaweed facts, and I asked if anybody had any topics that they would like me to cover for any more future lives. Same goes for this week as well. If once we've finished watching this, or you come up with any ideas yourself while watching, if you can let me know in the chat if you would be interested, if you have any interesting topics that you'd like me to cover that I can cover in future lives, that would be great, and I can do that. Always trying to come up with new ideas, even just topics themselves that ends up being like mini topics in with them as well, and the mini topics in with them as well, I always themselves. So last week I spoke about seaweed facts, and there was one topic that I mentioned that seaweed is going to be reducing methane emissions by putting it into cow feed. And even that in itself could be like a whole life. Things that I'm probably going to mention today in this live too could also have a live of their own, just being based on that. So yeah, I'm constantly coming up with new ideas, but if you'd be interested in any of these, it would be great if you could let me know, or even if you have any for yourself. Yeah, okay, so I'm gonna get started now and get into it. So I'm gonna start off firstly by talking, well, as I say, the topic for today's live is eco-friendly living tips. Just double checking everything's working okay. Okay, perfect. All right, so we're going to start off talking about Seaflora, of course. So Seaflora, like I say, I've been working for them since the end of December now, and we have eco-friendly living tips. So to start off with Seaflora, is that we sell along with. Sorry, I think the Wi-Fi just went down for a second. So yeah, to start off, relating Seaflora to eco-friendly living tips is that we have eco-friendly products, starting off with our recyclable glass bottles. I'll just get a photo up for you here so you can see when I'm talking about Seaflora and their bottles and their boxes, you have an idea of what I'm talking about. So here we go. Hopefully you can see this image here. So these are our Seaflora bottles that all of our products come in, which I just think are so stunning, because it's like, I just love the colors, and it just reminds you of like the beach and like waves and the gradual color of a wave. When you're looking down onto water, it's deep, and then as you get further towards the shore and the sand, then it becomes whiter. And these are our boxes too. So as I was saying, our glass bottles are glass, and they are also recyclable. And our boxes here, they are compostable, and the ink used to write on them and have the really good environment. And also I will show you a photo of our glass jars that we use for certain products as well, like our body polish, our body masks. And just here I have got the wild rockweed exfoliant, and as you can see, glass as well, which is always better to use than plastic. So also our shipping materials, as well as our products, our shipping materials are very eco-friendly as well. We also use, so when we're boxing up our products using cardboard boxes, we also have our little peanuts that go inside to make sure that nothing breaks when it's getting shipped away. And those peanuts are actually made out of cornstarch, so they are actually edible if you felt the need to eat one. But it's also just better for the environment because they're not made out of polystyrene, they're actually made out of cornstarch. So we've also got our little peanuts in there. We do try and use as little as possible in our packaging, but in some cases, obviously, we do want our products to get to you safely and not broken. So, like I say, peanuts come in handy for this to make sure that it's safe and that nothing's breaking. And we use tissue paper just for the decoration. And we have a lot of our own stuff in there as well, just like brochures and stuff like that. But like I say, try and use as little as possible. And we try and give off as little carbon footprint as possible. So all of our packaging is all biodegradable as well, just so that we're giving off low carbon footprint. And we also, most importantly, well, not most importantly, but it's very important, and I do like to talk about this as well, is that we have our refill station as well, which is really eco-friendly. As you can see here, Chantel, one of our managers here, you can see that we have our refill station there, and she is filling up. So we have our shampoo, conditioner, body wash, hand soap, body lotion, and we have also just added our sunscreen to that as well, which is just amazing because you can bring your own. Not only can you actually use ours here, so we have our little bottles here, and you can buy them, and then once you've finish that, you can then come in and refill it up, or you can bring in your own containers and fill them up yourselves as well, which is just great in like less plastic use, so that you're actually just reusing the same bottle or your own containers every time, and you're not buying more plastic every time you run out. And you could also, if you say you are fed up of sort of filling up the 250-gram bottles, we also have our big 1-gallon ones as well, which are all also worth getting as well, because then you have a gallon just to not have to run out very quickly. So yeah, like I say, I know sunscreen has also just been added to that collection as well. So now, moving away from Seaflora, we'll now be talking about actual eco-living tips for the general public, like myself and you guys watching. So going to start off with reusable bags. So I know that if you go to some of the shops, it's quite good actually in Canada for bags, because most of them, like if I go to Village Foods or if I go to Western Foods, if I do need a bag, which is hardly ever because I always bring my backpack with me, but if I do, it's always a paper bag, which is better than nothing. Even the liquor store as well, it's always a paper bag. But back in the UK, if I was shopping in the likes of Asda and Aldi or Lidl, I'm not sure if many Canadians will know those shops, probably Asda because it's similar to Walmart, then there are plastic bags that they would give you, and then you just end up with loads of plastic bags, and that is never good. So I would always try and take cloth bags, just like this guy is holding here, a big one, quite a big one, because I would use like 3 cloth bags and just fill them up, and that would be what I use to go shopping. Even here, I still do it too. I've got 2 big bags and 1 small one, and if I go to Walmart, then I will fill them up, and then I'm not reusing plastic bags or reusing bags in general. It's just the cloth ones, and they are the shopping bags, as we like to call them, and they will be getting used every single time for when we go shopping. Another good one for reducing energy and not using as much energy in your household is LED bulbs, using them instead. I know that I prefer them as well, because when you turn it on straight away, it doesn't just blind you instantly. They take a while to brighten up, and they start off really low, and then you think, oh, this bulb doesn't work, and then it just gradually gets brighter, and that is better for energy consumption and all around better for the environment. And yeah, so I actually do prefer them, just because you're not getting blinded. I think my parents, when I lived back home with them, had a few, from what I can remember, using them. And also what my dad always taught me, and he was a pain for doing it if you're actually using the light, but if you weren't, then it is good. If you do not need the light on, if you do not need anything plugged in, turn it off. So, my partner is not the best at it, and he'll always be going around the house leaving all these lights on, and I'm going around after him turning them all off because we don't need them on. I even actually do it here sometimes as well. If somebody's still in the kitchen, I'll turn the kitchen light off, and they'll be like, hey, I'm making a cup of tea in here, and I'm like, oh, sorry. Just out of habit, turning things off. But yeah, if you're not using appliances, please turn them off. That is also going to help with the environment and use less energy. Another good one that I have next is just what I genuinely do in general anyways, because I have found that it's worked so much better for me, is thrifting. Instead of going to, say, I don't really know the big brands here, H&M, even Walmart do clothes, but like the big brands back at home would be like New Look, Primark, even online shopping, like that's all going to cost things. I don't know if people use the app Shein to order clothes on, you're using all the plastic bags that come with them are just so unnecessary. So what I tend to do is I just find all of my clothes, including this dress I'm wearing here today. This was from the thrift store. I thrift a lot of my clothes, and I find it so much better because I've actually found really cool vintage stuff. So it's worked out way better because you're not buying from brands that aren't actually sustainable, and you're not going down that road. And found cheaper, reusable because they're secondhand, and actually way more cool stuff. All my sweaters and things like that are so cool and way better than they would be if I was to get them from anywhere else. So yeah, definitely if going forward, thrifting is the way to go to also be eco-friendly. And another big one that I actually used to do back at home in Scotland is composting. And that is obviously really good because it has the whole nitrogen cycle involved with that. Just like, say, when an animal dies, it's the chemicals that it releases from it passing away, they all sort of come out and into the system. They break down and go into the earth and then create the nitrogen, and then they get released as oxygen to us, and that is the nitrogen cycle. The same thing happens with your food as well. So if you're composting your food, it's not only is it going to give a meal to all those worms inside eating it, but it's also going to break it down and produce things to the planet. I know that around here it is still common, people still do it, but they have certain bins for that, and there are safety measures put in place because there are attractants for bears around here. So many of you might be like, oh, I don't know if I like the idea of that, but there are safety measures put in place to help with you still being able to compost and not attracting bears. But that is another good one. Also, I found that it separates the food from being in your all-round bin. So the only thing that is in my bin now is maybe like, even I was composting tea bags at one point, but even like tea bags or just tiny scraps of food, because never that much gets left, but like food that you can't compost, say like chips or something. But mostly so if I'm like chopping up a pepper, the end of a pepper would go in that compost. The end of a carrot would go into there. It's all like scraps, all the skin from an onion that you take off would all go in there. So it actually sort of separates that so that your bin doesn't fill up as much and it doesn't smell as much, because all the compost that is the rotten veg that starts to go off in your bin after a week is all outside, separate in a different bin anyway. So it does actually help with that too. So the next big one, which is another one that I have always been told, is to save water. And there was another big one that my dad would always be telling me if I was like washing my hands, he'd be like, turn the tap off. Or even if the tap was sort of stuck and you would walk away and you didn't realize it was running, my mom would be like, you've left the tap on. Bad. Especially water tax as well. If you're getting taxed on your water, I'm not sure if it's a thing in Canada, but when I lived in my wooden log cabin in the middle of nowhere, our water was coming from a stream, so we weren't having to get taxed on water because it was coming from our garden. But even still, I didn't leave the tap running. It's just so simple for even things like washing your hands. Yeah, obviously you need to rinse your hands, but if you're then stopping using your water to wash your hands with your soap, turn the tap off while you're doing that. If you're brushing your teeth, just quickly wet your toothbrush, put your toothpaste on, and then turn the tap on. Don't leave it running the whole 2-3 minutes while you're brushing your teeth. Also, Flushing the toilet is another one. There is a saying, and it's completely gone out of my head, but it's something to do with, I think it's if it's a wee, leave it be. So you're flushing the toilet less if it is a wee. If it's a wee, just sort of leave it. It's not that big of a deal to sort of flush it away. If it's a number two, then obviously, or number one, you get what I'm saying. Flush that away. But if it's just a wee, leave it be. Then you're conserving water in that way as well. And also another one would be, what was I about to say? Flushing the toilet. Showers and baths as well. If you're having a shower, don't spend, like, I know some people get carried away and they put their music on and a speaker and it's this whole big concert when they're in the shower, and they're in the shower for like an hour. Try and do like 10 to 15-minute showers. And if you're having a bath as well, try and not do them as often. But if you are, make the most out of it. Like if I have a bath, I know some people just don't really like washing in them, but I know it's just me, I'll wash my hair in that bath as well. And if you don't feel too grossed out about it, like I know some people might, but if you're not too grossed out about it, even let the person coming in after you use that bath water as well. If you're just wanting to sit in it just to warm up, you're not washing yourself or anything like that, let someone else jump in after you. That's also saving water as well. Okay, so another eco-friendly tip is actually using public transport instead of driving, which I know if you live in areas such as Souk or even back at home, I lived in the middle of nowhere. Public transport here is amazing compared to back home. I literally lived in the middle of nowhere. There was like one bus a day and it didn't even go past where I lived. So I had to cycle and walk a lot because I don't drive. But here, there is public transport. There might be public transport near you if you're in the city as well, say like Victoria, but I know that it's not always reliable and it's not the fastest route, because I know it can take about 45 minutes to drive from here to Victoria, whereas if you get the bus, you have to change buses, so you have to get 2 buses, and you also have to wait at Langford Exchange before you get on to go further, and it takes about an hour and 20 minutes, so that is it's another 40 minutes added onto your, maybe longer actually, another 50 minutes added onto your journey. It's a long time. So I can see how some people wouldn't want to take public transport, but for me, I don't know anything else. I don't drive, so it is my go-to thing. But that taking public transport, if it is reliable, if it's easy for you to do, then do it, because it is saving the environment from all the fuels that are going into the air from your car. If you do drive though, and you're going places, Apple Maps and Google Maps would be good to use as well, because they're always going to give you the fastest route, which is fuel efficient route as well. So that will help if, say, you don't want to use public transport, then if you can at least do the fastest routes, but it's not taking you 3 hours to get to somewhere that would only be an hour, and saving on the fuel and things like that. But yeah, I like to think when people are like, oh my gosh, you don't drive. And I'm like, well, yeah, but I'm saving the environment by doing that. So it's not a bad thing. And then also recycling, which is obviously, when you think of eco-friendly tips, that is the biggest thing that you're going to think of, is recycling. So definitely make the time to do it. I know that I have been around somebody's house before and they've just gotten something like cardboard or plastic and just shoved it into the bin. And I'm like, what are you doing? Why are you putting it in the bin? If you don't know, they would always tell you on most likely it will tell you on the back of your, say, food, if you're supposed to recycle it or not, which bin to put it in. If you're not sure, it also tells you to check out your local trash websites as well, just so that you know if your local people will actually take that specific plastic as well. So you're never going to be stuck. So I think people just get a bit lazy and they're like, oh, I don't know, so I'm just going to bin it. Don't do that. At least make the time and effort. Especially nowadays, there are certain bins for certain things as well now. And I think people don't like to differentiate and look through and actually separate everything, because you'll need one for like glass, cardboard, plastic, and then your normal garbage. And that, yeah, I've seen people do it. They're like, oh, I can't be bothered trying to get all my trash together to look through it to separate it all. But please do make the effort, because that is where it's gonna, you're just like, oh, well, if it's only me that does it. But if everybody said that, then there would be a big group of you and it would actually make the effort to recycle properly. So please recycle properly. It's not just about recycling, it's genuinely about splitting it up to make sure it's going into the right places as well. So I thought as well to give you some good ideas of having to use eco-friendly things as well. So going forward, these are sort of things that I myself have used, but you could also use in case you don't know where to go from here and you don't know any way that you can sort of use sustainable things. So one of the first ones that I will mention are bamboo utensils. So they're always good to use instead of plastic, especially say if you're going out for the warmer weather is coming along. I'm not sure in other parts of the world, but in Canada, apart from today, it's raining today, but apart from today, we've had actually some really good sun lately and it's been really warm. So we're getting towards spring, getting towards warmer weather. You might want to go out for some picnics. If you're going out for picnics and you don't want to use your hands and you don't want to use plastic either, bamboo utensils would be good, because you can also reuse them. You can bring them back and wash them as well and reuse them again. But yeah, also just it's better than plastic. So picnics or not, even if you just want to use them in general instead. Most people have metal cutlery, but if you don't, bamboo utensils would be a good way to start. What else have I got? I've got quite a few things. I've got bamboo utensils. We've also got, these are amazing, beeswax wraps. I don't know if many of you have heard of them before, but I got given one back when I lived in Scotland, and I used to wrap my cheese in it and put it in the fridge, and it was really good instead of using cling film. Even better than tinfoil, because eventually, even though tinfoil is better than cling film, you're eventually going to have to bin your tinfoil too. So these are perfect because you can reuse them again and again. They're made out of sustainable materials as well. And they actually smell really good as well. So like, say I was wrapping cheese in mine, which is quite stinky, but with the beeswax wraps on, it wasn't actually that smelly. And like I say, you can use them again and again. They were perfect. For example, just like this person here, you can use it for a sandwich or a wrap. You can use it for cold meats. It doesn't have to be cheese. It can be for anything. So another good one as well is that you can use, sorry, I'm just taking a look at my notes, make sure I don't forget anything here. Zero waste. Don't waste food. So, say for example, you've made a big meal and you don't eat all of it. Don't just throw it out. That honestly doesn't happen a lot in my house. We're big food eaters and big foodies, and we never waste food. There's always an empty plate, but if not, sometimes, like last night for example, I didn't actually finish. I made spaghetti bolognese and I didn't actually finish it all. Instead of throwing it out, I actually had it for my lunch today, so I just put it in my little plastic tub and I put it in the fridge and just reheated it today and had it for my lunch today. Therefore there was no wasting food, it got eaten. If you don't want to have it for your lunch the next day, or you can't see yourself eating it for the next week, still pack it in a tub and freeze it. And say one night you can't be bothered cooking, or there's just one of you and you need something to eat, take it out of the freezer and eat it then. As long as you're taking it out to defrost in time, or put it in the microwave to defrost, it's going to be easy, simple meal, and therefore you're not wasting food and binning it, still getting it in. Meal planning is a good one too. I know that when we lived in Scotland, like I say, we lived quite far from the big supermarkets, so we had to do like a big shop that lasted us a few months. Meal planning wasn't as easy to do for something like that, but now we live quite close to a supermarket, so I can meal plan. So we do like weekly, 2 weekly meal plans, and so that I know what we're going to have every night, so that food isn't going off and we're having to bin it because it's going out of date too fast. It's not just getting wasted in the fridge. You're actually using these foods, and also your portion sizes as well. Fair enough if you know that you're going to do like create a big batch and you're going to save it like me for leftovers the next day, but if you're not, maybe take a look at your portion sizes as well and make sure that there's just enough for that one night if you don't want to refreeze it or have it for leftovers, and then you're just making enough to eat that one night, and then you're not wasting any food in that way. I know as well that a lot of places these days are trying to go towards zero waste cleaning products too, so eco-friendly as well. So they all find that their packaging is a lot more sustainable, just like Seaflora, and not just their packaging, but the ingredients that they're using in their products as well are as minimal as possible, and they're organic. And going forward, that is always hopefully something that you guys can start to look for as well. Is even home remedies myself, I'll make them. So, like, for example, if I'm cleaning out my oven and it has a lot of stains on it, I will even just cook a lemon, and that then will go into the air in the oven. And then when I'm cleaning it, it'll be easier to get rid of things inside of that. So, a lot of home remedies are all natural things as well, natural, cheap, easy things that are mainly, like you can see in this image here, lemons, all something fresh that you would like to smell as well. You're always going to want your house to smell like lemons rather than off food and moldy ovens and microwaves. So yeah, but a lot of products these days will have minimal. If you're looking for the eco-friendly ones, will have less ingredients, more organic as well. But if not, you can also do your home remedies. I'm always looking online for recipes to be cleaning things as well, especially my toaster oven lately is filthy, and have been using that lemon trick to clean mine as well. So another bamboo thing is that actually I've got a few bamboo things that you can start to use are bamboo toothbrushes, which I have been using for a few years now. I just came across them one day and I was like, oh, this is so much better than having a plastic toothbrush, because most of the time, I think now you can start to recycle them, but back when I started using bamboo toothbrushes, you couldn't even recycle your plastic toothbrush and it was just going in the bin. Where now my bamboo toothbrush is biodegradable, so I can recycle it. Or if I do put it in the bin and I can't recycle it, it's going to biodegrade faster than a plastic one would, and it's going to be better. So I have been using that. And you can buy, even in Shoppers, you can buy like a big pack of them for a really good price as well. So, I know they might not last as long as a plastic one, but if you get quite a few in this pack, then they're going to keep you going. In terms of drinking drinks, like fizzy pop, I don't really drink a lot of fizzy pop, but if I'm on a night out and I'm having a drink, sometimes it would have Coke lemonade in it. Then you would use a straw. instead of using a plastic straw, you can, even metal ones you can use, but I also saw that we could use bamboo straws as well. So there's another idea. If you do drink a lot of fizzy drinks at home, then you can start using bamboo straws instead of plastic. There's another good tip for you. And in terms of laundry as well, we have our woolen balls that you can use. So this is a really good one, and I know my mum uses them. And instead of using fabric softeners and buying your big plastic tubs with it in and having to rebuy them when they're finished, you can use the woolen dryer balls to put in your dryer, and they will work just as well as fabric softeners, and then you can reuse these over and over. They're not going to get wet because they're in a dryer, so they're just constantly, if you do want to wash them, you'll be able to wash them as well. But yeah, it's also a good idea, and I love taking my things out of the dryer and grabbing one of them and it be nice and warm. I'm like, oh, it warms up my hands. They're always a good idea to use as well. Just trying to make sure I've mentioned everything. Glass jars. Always a good idea if you're trying to reuse things. If you even like my spaghetti tubs with my sauce in, I will clean them out and keep them, and I can use them for all sorts. Even if you don't know what you're going to use them for, just keep them, and one day they'll probably come in handy and you can reuse it again. I think I have an image here as well of your plastic tubs. So even, for example, when we get a takeaway and they give you your plastic tubs with your food in, more than anything, I will wash them and keep them, and that's what I now use for my lunch tub for when I have lunch the next day. My lunchbox is just a plastic tub, and I just got it for when I had a Chinese, washed it out, kept it, and now I use it as my lunchbox, and it's come in really handy and I can use it all the time. You can also use it to store your food in the fridge or in the freezer. But yeah, even don't ever think, even if you're getting a takeaway and they're giving you all these plastic boxes, that you need to be getting rid of them. Keep them and use them for something else, for example, as what I've just said. Okay. Another good one for the girlies out there with their makeup routines, reusable cotton pads. So if you're doing your nightly routine and you're taking all your makeup off after the day, using these are great. Saves you using plastic wipes and having to throw them out. You can reuse these. So these are reusable cotton pads that will do the trick to remove your makeup, even just cleanse your face. I know that when I went camping a couple of weeks ago, I had my little face cloth and I took my face cloth with me, and I was just using that when I was camping to clean my face and wash my face instead of using wipes. So these are another good one. And what else do we have here? We also have, back when I mentioned conserving and saving water as well, another big one is a water bottle. If you're out and about, I know I've got mine right here with me. I'll show you just now. I didn't even need to use this image here. Here is mine, my little rose gold water bottle. I will take that everywhere with me. And it is so good for not having to buy water when you're out and buying more plastic bottles. And every time you go out, you're like, oh, need water, I forgot water. Buying all these plastic, just take your own, take it everywhere. I know that most places will, like, such as cafes, will fill them up for you now. But even walking down, I'm not sure about Victoria, but when I lived in Glasgow, or even visiting for the day, if you walk down Glasgow, there would always be refill stations in the middle of the street that you could fill your bottle up in as well. So yeah, take your water bottle everywhere with you and fill that up as well. And that is less plastic, just reusing one of them all the time as well. So up next, we have I have spoken about everything eco-friendly wise for sort of tips for general living. But in terms of Seaflora, I want to touch on a couple of things that I forgot to mention there as well. So with our products, we do locally harvest our seaweed off the coast here. And it's actually at, sorry, I'm just trying to get a photo up so you can see what I'm talking about. We actually harvest it off Whiffin Spit just down there, so it is very local. It is maybe about half an hour walk from here. So here is Diane just here. She is the founder of Seaflora, and this is her out harvesting grabbing some seaweed from the beach that we then will use in our products. So we work very closely with First Nations as well for permission to sustainably harvest that seaweed as well. And how we know also as well that it is sustainably getting harvested is that we do not take the seaweed out of its root. We're giving it a little haircut with some scissors or a knife and never touching the root so that it can grow back. And it's constantly, I know Adam, our CEO here, he has cut in one area and gone back a few months later and cut from the same place, and he's just using one bit of the zone, and therefore it is still growing back because we're not touching the root. So that is how it is sustainably harvested here at Seaflora, which is also good to know. Also, see here at Seaflora, a portion of our sales go into donations to 3 nonprofit organizations as well. So I will mention them for you. I could even just do a live one day just talking about these 3 alliances as well, because they're really important to the planet and what Seaflora represent as a brand as well. So we have the Ancient Forest Alliance, which is our donations go to them to protect our forests and wood out there, trees, so to make sure that they're getting protected for their sake and for ours, because obviously our oxygen comes from trees. We also give donations to Georgia Strait Alliance, which are a conservation group that protect whales on the BC as well, obviously the Georgia Strait. So around BC, we are protecting, I think they are based in Vancouver, and they're protecting the whales around here. And then we also, last but not least, have the salmon enhancement as well. We'll just get a photo of their logo here for you. As you know, a lot of I think it was October. So when we moved here at the end of September, and then we went right into this, and it was amazing to see. I never actually got to see any bears down at Sun River, but I know that a lot of bears were down there feeding on the salmon. As you know, the salmon all swim up, and then they will lay their eggs, and then they will die, and then they will sort of stay there, and then the bears will come down and they'll either catch the ones that are vulnerable or they will eat the dead ones. And I know that I went on a walk in November, I think it was, and it stunk. It was just rotten fish everywhere, and it was so smelly, and it was crazy to see all that. Really, it was. You can't believe how many do come up. But obviously with this nonprofit, they protect our salmon, so that once they have done this cycle of their life, they are hatching new ones to get put out into the rivers again for us, and the cycle will continue for there, so that it's also protecting our life cycle and the bear's life cycle, and an all round cycle of everything. So they are 3 really important non-profits that we also donate to as well, which in terms of what Seaflora represent as a brand and our sort of, I'm struggling for the word that I'm trying to say, but what we are about is really important to us, because especially for me, when I started working at Seaflora, I obviously studying marine biology. I love marine animals and anything to protect them, such as the salmon and the whales, and then also your land as well. Like, of course, you're going to care about the trees and the forests and land too, because that is also very important. But all around, as something that I stand for and really would like to protect. When I found out that Seaflora did this, I was very amazed, and I was very proud that they're actually doing something like this. Just making sure I have mentioned everything that I need to today. Yeah, I think I have. We'll just see if anyone has said anything in the chat box just here. Okay, so I'd love to hear from you guys if you have any eco-friendly tips that you actually do yourself. If you can put them in the chat, that would be great to know the kinds of things that you like to do, or have been doing, or are going to at least try to do now after watching this live. I hope it was very educational for you, and that going forward that you can also put these eco-friendly tips into your daily lives and go forward and start sustainably caring for our planet, because it is very important to do that these days going forward, especially for our future as well. It's really important. So hopefully you've learned something and you've gotten some ideas of how you can do this going forward too. And if you have any questions, feel free to pop them into the chat too, and I will try my very best to answer them for you. Also, like I said at the very start of this live, if you have any ideas of any topics that you would like me to cover in the future in terms of this as well, let me know, and that would be, I really appreciate that. Like I was saying at the start, there's always many topics in the topics that I do that I could just spend a whole live doing, like the non-profits that I just mentioned there. I could do a whole live on that. So it would be amazing if you had any ideas, because then I know that you're interested in it too, and you can come back and watch it. But definitely I can do some on what I have just mentioned as well. But yeah, if you have any questions or ideas, let me know. Just give you a couple of minutes. Okay, I'm gonna wrap this up just now. As I was saying last week, that I'm going to try to do these lives weekly. It's worked out so far. I think it will from now on, so there most definitely will be every week. I think I'm gonna stick to Tuesdays at 1:30. Seems to work best. So I did my first one last week on seaweed facts. That is still on Facebook, on Seaflora's Facebook page, for the next month. I think they keep them on for a month now before they get deleted, and it's obviously recorded. So if you missed that one and you would like to go and watch that one, feel free to go on Seaflora's Facebook page and watch that on Seaweed Facts. I don't know if they say, I don't think they do save on TikTok, but it is recording. So if anybody misses this or you're interested in it being up there, I can actually just post this whole recording as an actual post on our Facebook or Instagram, just so that people are seeing it and they're not missing out. We're just trying to see which we're getting more engagement from. That is why it was just on TikTok this time. But I can also always, if you don't prefer TikTok, I can always go back to all of them and you can pick which one, or if you prefer Facebook or Instagram. I think next week's I'm going to be doing it on Instagram only. So these will be every week. You can stay updated on this on our Facebook and Instagram stories and posts. I will be posting about what date and time they will be every week, what topic it will be based on. So yeah, stay updated through that. That is it for today. I hope you learned some eco-living tips. And yeah, be in touch about next week's. I think that's everything, yeah. I can get this out as a post if you're interested too. So yeah, thank you very much for everybody that's stayed and watched. I appreciate it as always. It's nice to see some new faces and it's nice to see the same faces that people are coming on every week, and it's been great. It's still very new to me, so this is only my second one and I can't wait to do many more. It's very exciting because the topics that I'm talking about are something that I'm passionate about and it's really interesting to me. I hope it is for you guys too. So that is it for me today and socials, and I will see you guys next week. Bye.